Every poker player knows the feeling. You're down, the cards won't cooperate, and frustration starts to boil. You tell yourself it's just variance, but deep down, something shifts. You stop playing the game and start chasing the loss. That's when the dumbest words in poker usually show up. I've got to get even. Every player says it. Every single one of us. And the moment those words come out of your mouth, the game changes. You stop playing poker and you start playing emotion. I'm Terry Wood, and this is Deadly Sin number 9, Aching to Get Even, part of our Deadly Sins of Poker series here on Poker Railbird. In this episode, we're going to break down why chasing losses isn't just dangerous, it's one of the fastest ways to destroy your bankroll, your confidence, and your composure at the table. Because once emotion takes over, logic shuts down. And when logic shuts down, every mistake suddenly feels like it's the right play. The idea of getting even sounds rational, but in poker, what does being even mean? It's a mental mirage. When you lose $100 and later win $100, it feels like you've broken even, but you haven't. You've only balanced an emotional ledger, not a mathematical one. In truth, you would have been $100 ahead had you not lost it in the first place. Poker doesn't track fairness. It doesn't remember your bad beats, your bad luck, or your frustration. Every tip you lose is gone, and every tip you have left is your new baseline. You are always even in the moment, because the only balance that matters is where you are right now. But once you start focusing on the illusion of getting even, instead of focusing on your strategic execution, the real damage begins. This is how it happens, the pattern almost every player falls into. You lose a few pots. Frustration builds. You start calling with hands you'd normally fold. You hope instead of plan. You think you are due to win, but the deck doesn't know that or care. And before you know it, you've turned a small loss into a disaster. It's a pattern every experienced player has lived through. You take a bad beat, shake your head, and a few hands later you find yourself 3 betting junk hands, trying to win it back. You tell yourself it's just aggression or image building, but it's not. It's emotion disguised as strategy. At that moment, getting even becomes the new goal, and that's where everything unravels. The logic that guided your earlier decision shuts down, your discipline evaporates, and emotions take over. The psychology of this spiral is simple but devastating. When emotions take the wheel, logic gets locked in the trunk. You start rationalizing bad calls, forcing bluffs, and convincing yourself that one big pot will fix everything. But it rarely does, because you're not chasing chips anymore, you're chasing redemption. The irony is that the harder you chase the loss, the faster it runs away, and the threat of tilt becomes increasingly likely. Tilt isn't always triggered by bad beats or brutal luck. Sometimes we create it ourselves. The urge to get even is a textbook example of self-inflicted tilt, an emotional reaction masquerading as strategy. Here are 4 emotional drivers. 1. Loss aversion. Research by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky shows that losses hurt roughly twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. Your brain interprets a small loss as a personal threat, demanding correction. 2. Ego defense. The mind resists being wrong. After a tough session, your ego looks for redemption, not reason, compelling you to force results instead of waiting for opportunities. 3. Illusion of control. You convince yourself that pressing harder will make the cards cooperate, a psychological trick that feels empowering but fuels self-destruction. 4. Reinforcement bias. The worst thing that can happen after an emotional play is that it works. One lucky bluff while tilted convinces you that chaos equals confidence. In short, trying to get even can lead to self-induced tilt, emotion disguised as logic, and ego disguised as control. Every player has whispered it at least once, "My luck has to change." It's a comforting lie, the kind that keeps you in the game long after logic and reason says go home. Every deal is an independent event. Regardless of how many hands it's been since you had a pocket pair, your probabilities of getting one next hand is still 6%. The deck doesn't care that you've been cold for 2 hours, and it doesn't owe you a single card. Believing otherwise is what psychologists call the gambler's fallacy, the illusion that random outcomes must somehow correct themselves. But poker doesn't work like a pendulum. It's probability, not karma. The player who says, "I'm due," is already making emotional decisions. Once this thinking sets in, getting even becomes less about skill and more about superstition. You stop analyzing ranges and start hoping for balance. You convince yourself that a heater is coming, that variance has to swing your way, and that the next hand will finally make things right. But probability has no conscience. The cards don't compensate, and the game doesn't heal. You can only change one thing, your decisions. When you understand that, you stop waiting for variance to rescue you and start focusing on making the best choice available right now. The irony is that true momentum in poker doesn't come from luck at all. It comes from preparedness. The better prepared you are, the luckier you seem to get. Luck isn't found. It's built, one disciplined decision at a time. Nothing drains a bankroll faster than emotion disguised as confidence. After a tough session, many players decide the best way to recover is to play higher stakes, to win it back faster. It sounds logical in the moment, but more often, it's financial suicide. This is the point where getting even turns into full-blown self-destruction. You convince yourself that moving up limits will speed up the recovery process. But if you can't beat smaller games, you won't suddenly beat bigger ones. The same leagues that cost you $100 at a 1-2 table will cost you $1,000 in a 5-10 game. Higher limits magnify every weakness, emotional, strategic, and financial. When you're running bad and playing scared, bigger games don't offer redemption. They offer exposure. Every mistake is more expensive, every decision more pressured. If you can't beat the game you're in, you have no business buying a bigger loss. When you feel the urge to move up after a losing session, that's not your strategy talking, that's your ego begging for revenge. The pros know better. They step back, not up. They understand that recovery doesn't happen by chasing, it happens by resetting. When you're losing, your first instinct is to do something, anything, to change it. The correct move isn't to push harder, it's to slow down. Losing is feedback, not punishment. It's the game's way of telling you that something needs to change, not your luck, but your approach. True professionals understand this instinctively. They don't fight variance, they study it. They don't chase, they recalibrate. When the cards go cold, they tighten up, refocus, and protect their stack until the storm passes. The amateurs press forward, mistaking motion for progress. The pros sit still until they can move with purpose. In poker discipline, doing less is often the smartest move you can make. Fold more. Observe more. Step back and look at the table dynamics. Losing sessions aren't the time for hero calls or ego bluffs. They're the time to protect your bankroll and your mindset. In these situations, patience becomes your sharpest weapon. Most players grow restless and start forcing the action, firing at every pot, bluffing out of frustration, and calling with any 2 cards just to feel involved. That's emotional noise disguised as strategy. The disciplined player does the opposite, tightens up, studies opponents, and waits for opportunities to present themselves. Selective aggression doesn't mean playing scared. It means picking your spots with purpose. Sometimes that means folding for an hour before firing one decisive, profitable barrel. This isn't the time to straddle, chase coin flip pots, or attempt high-risk, low-reward plays. It's a time for thought, not impulse, for planning, not reacting. Sometimes the correct response is to walk away completely. Take a break, lower your limits, or end the session. Every great player knows that control isn't proven by staying in the game, it's proven by knowing when to leave it. Because the real mark of mastery isn't how you play when everything's going right, it's how you manage yourself when nothing is. You can know the math, you can quote the odds, you can even laugh off a bad beat, yet still let the results control you. Real understanding comes only when you stop measuring your success by outcomes and start measuring it by decisions. The Zen approach to poker is simple. Detach from the result, honor the process. The cards are random. Your reactions aren't. When you define winning as making correct decisions over time, you free yourself from the emotional swings that destroy most players. The goal shifts from chasing profits to pursuing precision. This isn't detachment in the sense of apathy. It's presence. It's learning to play inside the hand, not ahead of it or behind it. You aren't thinking about the chips you lost, or the ones you hope to win next. You're thinking about the structure of this hand, this moment, this decision. The classical poker player understands that getting even has nothing to do with the past. It's about staying balanced in the present. Every hand begins at 0. Each moment resets the equation. Detach from the outcome, and the outcome loses its power over you. When you hear that voice in your head, I've got to get even, that's your warning light. It's not telling you to leave. It's telling you to check your mental state. Are you still focused, calm, and rational? Are you still analyzing each hand correctly, or have you started reacting instead of reasoning? That answer determines whether you stay or go, not your chip count. The truth is, there's no such thing as getting even. Every hand begins at 0. You can't undo what's already happened, and chasing it only pulls you further away from the present. What matters isn't how much you've lost or won, it's whether you're still playing quality poker right now. Forget arbitrary limits. You're not a robot following a spreadsheet. You're a strategist measuring the purity of your decisions. If your mind is clear and you're still making good choices, keep playing. If your decisions aren't sharp, if impatience creeps in, or if the game feels unbeatable at the moment, stand up and walk away. That's the real discipline, the kind that separates professionals from emotional players. Because when you focus on clarity, the quality of your decisions, and your mindset instead of the payoff, you stop trying to get even and start playing the kind of poker that wins over the long run. The habit of trying to get even doesn't go away just because you leave the table. It goes away when you stop chasing the past and start thinking in the present. The real danger isn't the money you've lost. It's the moment you start letting emotion, ego, or frustration make your decisions for you. The best players don't chase outcomes, they master their decisions. Because in poker, emotional control isn't optional. It is the edge. If you think this video has value, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. This is Terry Wood from PokerRailbird.com, and we'll see you at the tables.